Am I the idiot for embarrassing my wife in front of her friends over dirty dishes? My wife and I have been together for 4 years total, married for 1. We didn't live together before marriage, and I've realized since then that was probably a mistake. I'd been to her apartment tons of times and it was always clean. Fast forward to being married and she's messy. Like grossly messy. We have chores divided between us since we both work and she rarely does her share. I asked her what changed since she'd always had an immaculate apartment, and she admitted that she had hired a weekly cleaning service because she just didn't want to do it. I have a couple cousins with ADHD and knew problems cleaning and keeping routine was how it presented with them, so as part of trying to remedy the problem, I suggested she go get screened. She refused at first but then relented. 2 different doctors say the same thing, no ADHD. No ADD, not autistic. So this is just her. We've made some improvements, but one of the biggest unresolved issues is that she's not even trying to clean her dirty dishes. We have to wash by hand because our apartment doesn't have a hookup for a dishwasher. She doesn't want to do them because a lot of dish soaps dry out her hands. Understandable. The issue is that she never brings her dishes, cups or utensils to the sink. She leaves them all over the house no matter how many times I ask her to please put them in the sink. The most she'll do is put them on the counter across from the sink, usually with food still on them or sticking to it. She's really bad about leaving them for days in her office, and she does not want me in her office since it's also her hangout room. Gathered them from there once. She got upset, so I just left it alone. At one point, I just let her dirty dishes pile up on the counter, and when we ran low, she bought paper plates and plastic utensils, and called me lazy for not washing the dishes. Then it was finding crusty paper plates in every room in the house. Yesterday morning before she left for work, she brought all her dishes from her office out and some of that crap had freaking mold on it. I left them on the counter. This has happened before, and I told her I wouldn't wash them. Here's where I might be an idiot. I got a deep plastic basin, filled it with hot soapy water, put her used dishes in it and set it in her office with a pair of brand new wash gloves, and left for work. I got a call on the way home. She was screaming that I embarrassed her in front of her friends, and they think I'm some kind of monster. Apparently she brought a couple friends by after work to make plans for the weekend, and they all saw the basin. Now, if I knew she was going to have people over, I wouldn't have done that. She left to stay with her sister, and refuses to come home until I apologize. So am I the idiot here? Edit to add, I don't mind doing the dishes. It's her refusing to put them in the sink and leaving them all over the house or in the office long enough to grow mold is the issue. Paper plates? She leaves those all over too. Weekly cleaner still leaves the issue of dirty dishes and moldy dishes between cleaner visits, and if we ever can't afford daily cleaning, we'd be back in the same spot. Not the idiot. Mold? In the dishes? This is beyond laziness. This is something else entirely. This is weird. And being mad about the paper plates only highlights that. If she even brought them to the sink, it would be more understandable. This level of neglect of her own personal space is alarming. And without a whole life story, I don't think we're going to be able to give you possible reasons why, but either way, your wife needs an intervention to discuss both her house hygiene and the way she treats you when you bring it up or try to correct the problem. Not the idiot. It would be one thing if this only happened occasionally, but there's no excuse for someone who isn't suffering from depression or some other mental illness to live like that, let alone subject their spouse to it. The implication of her being embarrassed by the tub of dishes is that she wouldn't have been embarrassed by her friends seeing the piles of filthy moldy dishes around the house or on the counters, which is concerning. She's lazy and her actions are disrespectful. Not the idiot. People telling you to consider the cleaner are absolutely freaking nuts. $100 a week because someone can't be asked to put their dishes in a sink? Must be great to live in a world where clearly money means so little you'll happily throw 100 at something that takes an absolute minimum of effort. Screw that. Her issue is clearly laziness and accountability. You've taken her to professionals. Nothing. She cleans when her friends are over. Otherwise she doesn't. Clearly the issue is the rest of the time she's too lazy to do it because she knows you will. So you need to stop. I mean stop. Leave them where she puts them, and don't move them unless she puts them in the sink. If they're on the side, you don't move them. If this means she runs out of dishes to eat off, that's her problem. Eventually she will hopefully realize the easier solution is to just put her dishes in the sink. What actually is her reasoning for not doing it? I mean, if she can put them in the kitchen but not the sink, clearly she has the motivation to move them out of her space, but not to do as you ask. What's up with that? What is her defense? I know you've said you're happy to do the dishes, so it's not like her putting them in the sink means she now has to do them. Just wondering how she manages to justify leaving them everywhere except where you ask. She just forgets or something? Am I the idiot for getting angry about the house being dirty? My wife is a stay-at-home mom. She does all the meals and also cleans. This was our deal when we started to live together. I would work and take care of finances. She would stay home with our baby and tend to the house. I also do my share in the house, which obviously is much less than hers, which consists of taking out all the trash in the house, watering the yard and sweeping the porch. Everything else is her territory. This happened last weekend. I have a side business and needed to travel out of town for the weekend. I left early on Friday morning and returned Sunday night. When I get home I see the porch is full of leaves and dirt. Inside all the trash cans are full and there are toys everywhere. My wife and baby are nowhere to be found. I call her, and she's at her parents'. They live 8 minutes away. She tells me she's sorry she's not there to greet me and heads off. She arrives home a few minutes later, and at this point I'm furious. I ask her what she's been doing all weekend. She looks kind of surprised and tells me, well, my little sister stayed on Friday night, and then my mom on Saturday. You know, it's the first time you left and I was kind of scared of being alone with the baby at night. We just hanged out and I was dropping my mom off when you arrived. I told her that was no excuse for the state I found the house in, all dirty and disorganized. Not only that, but I just came from a business trip and there was nothing to greet me, no warm meal and no wife. She started saying excuses about being busy all weekend with her parents and playing with the baby, and I told her that was no excuse. Since her mother was there she could have looked after the baby while my wife did her duties to the house. She then tried to tell me that it was also her weekend and she was just having fun and being with her parents. This made me really angry because I work on the weekend to earn more money for her and the baby, and she's out there having fun and forgetting about the house. I tell her all of this and I admit at this point I was yelling. She started to cry, as always, and told me that she always has the house clean, which is true, she is very clean, and this was an exception. I told her that the house duties never stop and there are no vacations from them. She's a grown adult and she needs to grow up and stop with all that childish nonsense of running off to her parents every time I'm not there. After that she was really angry and went off to feed and put the baby to sleep. I went off to sweep the porch. Later she took out the trash, and picked up all the toys. She then tells me angrily, see, it took 15 minutes to fix all the fuss you were talking about. But that's not the point. The point is she did not do her job all weekend. She's still mad at me. Am I the idiot? You are the idiot. You need to come home to a clean house and hot meal? Ha! She needs a break too. Let her have the break. It's not like the house being a mess for less than an hour is going to hurt anything. And this scenario is the exception, not the rule. You sound like you have control issues. You can't isolate her from her family or friends. You are the idiot. Look, I get being unpleasantly surprised to find your house dirty when you come home from a tiring trip, but you way overreacted. You also talk about your wife as if you're basically her boss, not her partner. I told her that was no excuse for the state I found the house in. I just came from a business trip and there was nothing to greet me, no warm meal and no wife. I told her that the house duties never stop and there are no vacations from them. The point is she did not do her job all weekend. Your wife doesn't report to you. It's not her job to serve you or anything. The two of you have collective responsibilities and have chosen to split them in a particular way. You absolutely should bring up concerns if something's not working for you, or you feel she isn't pulling her weight, but it should be as her partner, not as her superior. This made me really angry because I work on the weekend to earn more money for her and the baby, and she's out there having fun and forgetting about the house. Listen, everybody needs a break sometimes. Everybody sometimes lets things slide. Instead of resenting your wife for having downtime when you don't, be glad for her that she's able to get the rest she needs. If you're feeling overworked and she has time to spare, then it may be good to talk about a redivision of responsibilities, but don't get upset with her for taking a break. We all need rest and fun. She started to cry, as always, and told me that she always has the house clean, which is true, she is very clean, and this was an exception. This brings me to my point about overreacting. You say your wife is always very on top of household chores, and that this mess was unusual. Why was your first reaction anger? Why was it that she'd done something wrong? If I came home to find an unusual amount of mess in my house, my first reaction would be to ask my partner if they were okay and what had happened to get it that way. If you'd started there, I think it's likely your wife would have just told you things had gotten away from her over the weekend and she'd take care of it ASAP. No fight, no big deal, just a hey what happened? And a yeah, I'm playing catch up a bit. Basically, quit treating your wife like an underperforming employee and start treating her like your teammate. Are your hands broken? Do your legs not work? Are you allergic to brooms? Clean the house yourself. You are the idiot majorly. God forbid your wife practices a little self-care and sees her family. You don't get to dictate her every move. Am I the idiot? Just found out my boyfriend isn't washing the dishes we eat off of again. So a few months ago, my boyfriend came home and said, "We're not going to keep dishes in the sink anymore. They have to go into the dishwasher or we wash them." I found this unreasonable. We are a household of 2 and we run the dishwasher 1 to 2 times a day. Dishes do not sit in the sink overnight. And I did not appreciate being told, rather than consulted, so I told him, "No, I am not doing that. I am happy to put the dirty dishes into the dishwasher when it's open, but I am not going to stop everything I am doing and wash dishes as soon as I've used them." It was a sticking point for him, but this type of boundary setting has been a problem in our relationship, so I stuck to my guns. I finally told him that if it was that big of a deal to him, he could wash the dishes. So he does. And they're still dirty. So a few months ago, I pointed this out to him, making sure to be understanding and not accusatory. He said to me, "Yeah, but at least it's not in the sink anymore." I told him that that's not okay. I am not eating off of dirty dishes just because he doesn't want them sitting in the sink, and he agreed to be more mindful. Tonight, he washed a dish while the dishwasher was empty. I walked to the dishwasher to put my dirty dish in, and I saw that his dish that he had just washed, and was sitting in the dish drying rack, was still very dirty. I picked it up and kindly said, "Hey, I appreciate you washing your dishes, but do you see this?" He said, "Yeah, that's my pre-wash," I said to him, "but it's in the dish drying rack. That's where we keep the clean dishes that need time to dry." He said, "No, that's where you keep the clean dishes. That's where I put my pre-wash dishes." Then he put the pan he had used to make dinner in on the rack, and I said to him, "So that's not clean either?" He said, "No, because that can't go in the dishwasher." So I asked him, "But then you're putting the dirty dishes with the clean dishes?" And he just laughed. He claims he's been doing this for months. He's acting like it's totally normal and I'm crazy for being horrified. He claims he does not remember our first conversation about this months ago and that I can't be upset with him. Am I the idiot for being absolutely horrified? My anxiety is through the roof. I feel like I want to scream and I want to be very angry at him. I feel I want to hold him accountable and that this is very obviously a boundary violation. But I am wondering if I am overreacting? I've just been assuming the dishes left in the dish drying rack are clean. And he seems very genuine that he didn't realize this was going to be a problem and that he cannot remember our last conversation. He seems genuine that he did not do this to upset me and seems genuinely shocked that I'm having a bad reaction to it. Not the idiot. I feel like he's being purposefully obtuse because he doesn't like dishes in the sink, but also doesn't want to do the dishes? His reasoning is baffling, and he's absolutely gaslighting the crap out of you by claiming he can't remember an argument about dishes from just a few months ago. That's nonsense. Not the idiot. His behavior in your post and what you describe in the comments is classic narcissist behavior and gaslighting. This isn't about the dishes. He's screwing with you intentionally. And apparently he's been doing this to you for years? Seriously, this doesn't get better. It gets worse. He will act better for a while and then go back to screwing with you. You cannot negotiate or boundary your way out of this. No therapist can help this relationship. Trust me, I've seen this kind of thing before and it ends badly. Cut your losses and run. Not the idiot. This is just about the clearest example of weaponized incompetence I've seen on Reddit. This guy was not raised properly by his parents. It is not your job to see that he is brought up at this point. You are looking at a lifetime of constant anxiety and anger with this guy. If you resolve the dishes, it will be the laundry next. If you resolve the laundry, it will be cleaning the bathroom next. If you resolve the bathroom, it will be storing food in the refrigerator next. Then he will start over with the dirty dishes because he will have forgotten any earlier conversation. Am I the idiot for telling him to move back to the pig pen he came from? I hit a breaking point last night. My fiancée comes from filth. His whole family is absolutely disgusting in a sense that they can be surrounded by garbage and still think it's normal. His family home, which has been given to his sister, has an entire garage that is currently being used as a dumpster, and every single corner of her home is packed up tighter than a bull's butt with nothing but clutter, dog hair, and dead mice. You cannot see the floors in any of the 8 rooms this home has. It's not a hoarding issue. It's a I don't want to clean issue. So this is what he is used to. I claim that I have been duped, because when my fiancé and I got into a place, he was exhibiting signs of a clean person. As in always cleaned up after himself, and our home never looked even remotely close to that of his family home, and he did help me clean frequently. Like I said, I have now hit a breaking point and I'm pretty certain he only did this to make me think he was better than that. In the past year he has done the dishes twice. He has cleaned once. If he cooks, which is incredibly rare, he leaves everything he uses out on the table, full milk jugs, butter, cheese, etc., and dirties every pan in the house. I have brought it up several times. I'm not a freaking maid. I shouldn't have to put things away that he fails to put away after using. Even if he makes himself cereal, he will still leave both the cereal and the milk on the counter, versus walk 5 steps to put it away. He will take his dirty clothes off and kick them over by our dresser, versus putting them in the hamper behind him. He will leave his dirty clothes in the bathroom for weeks until I finally cave and do the cleaning myself. When I mention how trash the house is, he says it isn't even that bad. When I get pissed and start rage cleaning, he makes comments asking me to calm down. Other than this, the man is great. Treats me great, loves me unconditionally. So last night I woke up around 1 a.m. and found milk on the counter again. At this point it was warm, so I assume it had been there for hours. I lost it. I was so tired of telling him to pick up after himself that I told him to go move back into the pig pen that he came from. It wasn't just the milk. It was also all of his clothing bags and travel bags that were strewn all over the kitchen. As well as finding the dog had been left out of the kennel and got into the garbage, and the cat had dragged his dirty clothing from the bathroom into her litter box. He says I'm acting irrationally and he simply forgets because he has ADHD. Undiagnosed, so there's that. Am I the idiot? I see people justify all kinds of things with ADHD, and it's rage-inducing to those of us who actually have it, and don't use it as an excuse for things. It gives us a bad name. I've never met someone with ADHD who was a slob to the disgusting, unsafe, wasteful extent OP's partner is, not unless they had other much more serious issues going on with it. Do we have trouble with clutter? Yes. Do we have trouble putting things back on occasion? Yes, but not an entire dinner's worth of fridge ingredients all night. I forget things like leaving my hairbrush on the bed instead of in the drawer because I'm in a hurry. I forget to wipe off the counter sometimes. What I don't do though, I don't forget to wipe off the counter after every meal for a month, letting it build up, like it sounds like OP's partner does. OP's partner might indeed have ADHD. But he's also just a lazy slob who knows she will pick up after him eventually, and if not, he doesn't care. At least not anymore. Don't forget he was just fine at cleaning up after himself while he was still trying to prove himself. He can clean up. He just chooses not to. Not the idiot. Your fiancé is burdening you with his mess and not carrying his weight in basic upkeep of the household. It's time to tell him that he is either going to get therapy to address his family hoarding/mess issue, and undiagnosed ADHD so you can both live comfortably and have a peaceful marriage, or the relationship will end. If he agrees to get help, postpone the wedding. If he doesn't, call it off. His mess and dismissive attitude toward both your feelings and labor, since you're the one cleaning up his mess, is a deal breaker. Not the idiot. I'd be afraid of the health risks of living with someone so filthy. He has proven to you that he is fully capable of cleaning like a normal person. He just thinks he doesn't have to anymore because he has made the choice to take you for granted. He has adopted the mentality, she will never leave me no matter how disgusting I am, so now I'll stop cleaning, and pretend it's because I have ADHD to make her feel even more guilty about ever leaving me. I would even question at this point whether he ever washes his hands after the bathroom since he's fine with his clothes sitting in cat litter. He can be the loveliest person in the world, but this filth is not acceptable and is a real health hazard. Especially if you were to ever become pregnant. I have ADHD, and I struggle to keep on top of things, but I manage to keep the place looking reasonable, and the rare occasion it gets out of hand, I go on a total rampage cleaning it all up. Just leaving it forever and ever? God no.